This is Charlie Mike, the podcast. Veterans helping veterans, talking about things happening in the veteran community, things we've experienced and overcome, such as addictions, PTSD, depression, legal trouble, and we also promote veteran-owned businesses. If you're talking about it, we're talking about it. This is Charlie Mike, the podcast.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Charlie Mike, the podcast. As always, I'm your host, Raul. And I was going to introduce the co-host, but I don't got one. So, you guys, we appreciate you tuning in. I wanted to come on real quick. We actually did this interview previously, and I messed it up. So, we're coming to you again with two special guests, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves.
My name is Amelia Templeton. I'm the executive director of Artists in Arms. It's a nonprofit working with veteran artists.
And I'm Chan Smith. I'm an at-large board member with Artists in Arms, and I do whatever she tells me to there.
And art.
And art stuff. Make.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, your upbringing, your military service. Tell us
All right.
what got you into this.
Right on. Well, I've been an artist since before I could do pretty much anything else. I used to sneak into my mom's art studio and mess around with her stuff when she wasn't home to stop me. I don't remember a time when I wasn't doing something artistic.
Artistic is in the family?
Yeah, my mom was a wood carver and painter, and my dad is sort of a engineer savant. He can pretty much make anything out of anything. I don't know how to explain my dad. He's like
MacGyver.
He's MacGyver. Yeah, but like hippie MacGyver, long curly hair and stuff. He's also a performer. He used to perform out at Texas Renaissance Festival. So a lot of artistic stuff happening in my family. My grandparents are both artistic. My brother was artistic. Yeah. And then I got into theater for a while in middle school through high school. Graduated high school, didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, didn't want to waste a bunch of money going to college and getting a general degree. So I joined the Marine Corps.
Marine Corps.
Yeah. I was going to go into the Air Force like my grandpa, but then they were out to lunch. And I ended up seeing a friend that I went to high school with.
Wait, that's for real?
Yeah, for real.
You know what's funny is I've heard that more than once.
Dude, yeah, their recruiting office was locked. It was down at Baybrook Mall, and it was locked. But then I saw my boy Lee that I went to high school with, and I was like, hey, you look good. What are you doing with your life? And he was like, I'm a Marine, and you should talk to my recruiter. And I was like, all right, whatever. I was at Bennigan's that night with playing trivia. You remember NTN trivia at Bennigan's? Probably not.
I barely remember Bennigan's.
I'm aging myself right now. But yeah, so we're like playing trivia, and there's this old salty Marine there, and I'm like, I was talking to the Marine Corps recruiter today. And he's like, you'll never make it. You couldn't do it. Women don't belong in the military.
Oh, he was one of the Mo ones.
So I signed my paperwork the next day and left for boot camp like a month later.
What?
I was like, watch me, bitch.
Yeah. How did your family deal with that?
Oh, they were cool
supportive.
with it. Yeah, then my grandpa was the only one who was ever in the military, as far as I know, and he was back in the Army Air Corps before it was the Air Force.
Okay, yeah.
You know, he was like an MP. I think he was an officer.
Mm-hmm.
I think he went down to Panama. I don't really know. He never talked about it.
Yeah, the older generations are like that.
Yeah, I know he didn't particularly like it.
Uh-huh.
You know, he came back. He uses money his commission money to go to school. Became a geologist, but that's it. There's no other. We're not like a military family,
Right?
You know,
right.
and we definitely didn't have any women in the military,
Yeah.
so they were surprised because I've always been very like, don't tell me what to do, you know, and an artist, some kind of artsy fartsy, and they were just like, really, okay.
That's awesome. So how long did you end up serving?
I was in for 5 years.
5 years.
I was an avionics technician on the CH-53 Echo Super Stallion. I call it the semi of the sky. It's a helicopter. It's heavy lift. We move people and stuff.
Yeah.
You know. Really cool bird. I really enjoyed my job. Had a good time. Deployed a little bit. Got injured. Ended that career.
Yeah.
So it was kind of unexpected. I had kind of thought I might do 20.
Really?
Yeah, I wanted to be a drill instructor because y'all can't see me, but I'm like 5'2", and at the time I was maybe 120 pounds soaking wet. You know, like this tiny little thing, angry at everybody all the time, trying to prove myself. Like I could do it myself. You know,
I don't need you to open the jar. Yeah.
smash the jar against my forehead, pick the glass out of the pickles. Yeah, I had a lot to prove. And,
Is that how they came up with Jarhead?
Sure.
Okay.
I'll accept it.
It makes sense.
We have decided.
Yeah, it makes sense. We
I
just
thought it was a
created.
haircut, but you know that sounds like a more reasonable.
But yeah, so I enjoyed my job. I did a lot of art while I was in. You know, once they find out you can draw at all, they're like,
I see.
draw me this. Yeah. You know, so I did a lot of morale stuff, you know, painting pictures for people while we were deployed and, you know, just doing art, kind of keeping myself sane, keeping things even keeled for me. It's like I could just retreat into the art and not listen to the explosions and stuff. You know, I'm just like, well, if I die, at least I die doing something I love.
That's crazy. So you from the beginning that you had that artistic skill?
Yeah. And then I got out, obviously, medically retired, and didn't know what to do with my life. Bummed around a little bit, went to Alaska for a little bit. Turns out it's really fucking cold in Alaska.
No shit.
So I came back to Texas.
I wouldn't have guessed it.
And the crappy thing is, like, I was out in what they call the bush. It's out in the sticks. Bristol Bay, if you've ever seen the show Deadliest Catch, is filmed around where I lived. So I'm like out on the coast and there's nothing. Like there's no road system. You can't get to Anchorage. You can't go to the movie theater. You're just out in this tundra town and there's nothing to do.
And it's daylight most of the time?
Not where I was at. So, like, if
Okay.
you look at your handy map of Alaska, y'all, I'm holding up my hand here. If you look at your handy map of Alaska, I was like over here. So the places that are like daylight all the time, that's like way up north.
Okay.
Nome
So you got
area.
night and day.
Yeah, I think our shortest day of the year was like there was still 4 hours of daylight. You know, so there's a little bit of it, but
Yeah.
we're like kind of even with like Canada and stuff
Okay,
down
okay.
where I was at. But Alaska's so huge. We don't realize how big it is until you superimpose Texas over Alaska. And you go, oh. One of the
A
things,
lot of coastline too.
dude, so
Lots.
much coastline. And most people live on the coast area. Like the interior of Alaska is pretty much just weirdos and bears and moose. Sorry for all you off-grid folks that are listening to this podcast.
So I have a question. Like when I
Yeah.
think of Alaska, I don't think seasons. Do they have seasons? Mm-hmm. So there's not always snow there all the time.
I mean, again, it depends where you're at. So if
Okay.
you're up in like Nome, then yeah, it's mostly snow and they've got the like 40 days a night or whatever. I don't know. I've never been there. It's colder there.
So this is a podcast studio right here, and we do another podcast with these guys called Grab 'Em in the Brisket. And my job is to I produce it, so I'm in the back checking the statistics and things that they say.
Yeah.
So he's like, if you go to Alaska, you got like an 80% chance that you'll get attacked by a bear. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. And I didn't check it. And then they went somewhere else to another like barbecue festival, and somebody from Alaska came up to him and was like, "You guys are idiots."
Got that all.
I will say though, like when I was there for around 2 years, and we did have a guy whose dog got eaten by a bear, which was really sad. And then there was a lady whose dog got carried off by an eagle, and we have those here too. So look, danger's
What?
everywhere. Keep your dogs inside.
Eagles
That's what I'm
are
saying.
everywhere up there.
Oh,
Bald
yeah.
eagles
Yeah,
everywhere.
yeah.
They're like trash birds.
And they're obnoxious. They're everywhere and they get into your stuff. Bears are the same way. They're like raccoons that can kill you. They have the same personality. Like if you leave your trash in your car, they will like tuna can your car to get your trash out to like dig in it and see if there's good food. And if you you can't leave trash in your Arctic entry because they'll kind of break into your house sometimes.
What?
They're really obnoxious, and but the moose are the dangerous ones. You gotta stay away from the moose. Anyway, I don't know how we ended up talking about Alaska for like an hour, but I came back from Alaska and I went back to school for theater degree. I got a degree in theater. I do mostly scenic art and prop making. I like acting, but it's not my forte. I guess. More of a backstage person.
So when you say scenic art, just of
Like painting walls,
Okay.
making stuff look like other stuff. So, like, you know, if you have a white painted table and the director comes to you and is like, I want this to look like walnut, but you don't want to strip the table down, then you have to paint on top of the paint to look like it's wood, right? And so
Okay,
you have to do
I
like
get
wood
you.
graining and stuff.
Yeah.
Or, you know, you have somebody who's like, I want this $1 million statue in my play, but you know, our budget is this pile of peanuts. So what can you do? And so you carve a replica of that statue to be in the play. You know, stuff like that.
wow, that's awesome.
It's cool. Yeah.
So tell us more about yourself. I know you said you're part of the organization, part of the nonprofit. Now tell us your upbringing, where you're originally from, and your military service.
Awesome. I was born in West Texas, Odessa.
Odessa.
There's nothing out there.
That's why I
I
said
think
it
my
like
brother,
that.
my brother calls it God's country. But a little bit of sense, and my mom, my father passed away when I was young, and she brought us back here. It was basically east side of Houston, Bellevue, Barbers Hill, Chambers County.
Yeah.
And had a Cuban grandfather, and he was the artist. And my mom painted. So I think it was in the blood. You know, that Cuban blood is where that came from. Grandfather also, his sisters were actresses and musicians and singers and stuff like that. But I didn't take it in any of it in consideration. You know, I was just like a kid and don't appreciate that stuff when you're young.
Yeah.
But you know, even that going to school, like, my art education was 7th grade art. That was it. You know, it was like, okay, and had a lot of fun, but did I continue it? No. My father was a World War II veteran. It's not that I'm that old. He was much older. And not knowing my father and that he was a World War II veteran, it was something that I wanted to do. So 2 months after my 17th birthday, and I enlisted, and was able to retire at 37. That was kind of cool. But yeah, I enlisted, and kind of that same thing Amelia's saying, you know, it's like, you had some skills. Oh, you can draw, you can paint. I got this cool idea for a tattoo. Or first sergeant major find out you can paint, and it's like, hey, Smitty, come here. What do you need to paint this whole wall? I want a mural of
Me.
whatever it is. Well, you know, like
Stride on
unit
horse.
patches and, First Armored Division, Old Ironsides. He wanted a painting of the USS Constitution in a day, like a day room. I was like, you want to paint a ship on the wall in an army barracks? And I was like, well, okay, so got me out of some crappy duty, as a TFC.
Yeah.
But
that's the best part about being in
yeah,
artist.
it's like, nope.
Are you guys mowing the yard? I'm going to paint this wall.
Yeah, exactly. Painting rocks? No. Bricks. But I got out, the enlistment ended, and I was like, I'm going to go to college. And while I'm in college, I actually met a friend of ours, Lewis Medina, in a National Guard unit. And while I'm in the National Guard going to college, and there's like this 13-year-old kid, and he had a dot on his cap. And I'm like, what's up with this kid? I'm like, oh, he's an ROTC at the University of Houston. I was like, I go to University of Houston. So I went over and talked to him, and I'm like, So I got in the senior ROTC program at U of H, got commissioned with a waiver because I was already old from prior service. So I got commissioned after 12 years of enlisted service. Didn't get the branch I wanted, really. I mean, I didn't know what I wanted to do, even as an officer. Became a quartermaster, which is supply and services. Had a lot of fun, a lot of stress. went ahead and decided to retire right after 20 years. Really is a couple months after my oldest son was born. And I was like, it is not the time to have kids and be in the Army. And, you know, how many deployments happened after 2007? So yeah.
That was the push.
We
were doing 18 months, man.
Yeah. Oh, and I had I had the opportunity. Yeah. I had actually busted up my knee pretty good. I had to have surgery on it. So I didn't deploy with my unit at one point, and I was like the rear detachment commander. So I had all the people that stay back on rear detachment.
All the squared away soldiers.
Yeah, yeah.
A-team.
Yeah, the A-team. So a lot of fun. And then, got squared away for deployment. I'm like, 20-year letter came, and I was like, I can retire now.
It's time.
And they're like, well, we can send you over, and you'll be back at an airfield as a logistics officer for an aviation brigade. And I'm like, or
yeah, I can go home.
Or I can hang up that uniform. So I did that. Then brilliant idea. Also, Lewis suggested it. I went and taught JROTC as a retired Army officer, and I went over in 5th Ward and taught it at Wheatley High School, which did not have a theater program, by the way, which I thought was really interesting. Mm-hmm. They had an art teacher, and then everything else was band, marching band.
Well, it supports the football team. So.
Yeah. Well, and it's also very underserved community, and the few resources, were very spread thin. And the art teacher there, great guy, he bought everything himself. And we'll talk about that, right?
We'll talk about that, yeah.
So, but it was really, I would say, in uniform, it was the hardest job I ever had. Teaching underserved young people, the value of service.
Right.
Especially when they come from a community where they're usually recipients of that service.
Mm-hmm.
But it was too much for me. I was neglecting time with my family. So I ended up getting out of doing that. Found myself through Voc Rehab, a job working for county government, doing emergency response training for the public. And, I still had that service and, focused on young people. So I'm still doing that with high school students.
Right.
Great opportunity. I mean,
so
really.
Active shooter drills?
No, it's community emergency response. It's a program under FEMA.
Okay.
And it's just teaching life-saving skills.
Oh, all right.
In disasters. And we face more than our share here in our region. So, very rewarding kind of thing, that knowing that I'm going to tell some young person something that, have them gain the skills that could save somebody that they love or a complete stranger. But that gave me more time with my family. Well, what do old retired guys with a second job do with their time? Not much with their family. So my wife, she's going to watch this. She told me I needed to find a hobby, and we made that happen after several years of her telling me, you need a hobby, you need a hobby, you need a hobby. And she knew I had some artistic skills just because I would do little things. So we have a studio in our house now. And about 2 years ago, since I have a space, I'll go in there and we'll spend a whole weekend in the studio together. She does her watercolor or whatever she's working on, just across the table from me. And it's great quality time. And it really is helpful for me. It's a decompression. It's an outlet. It's something I really just enjoy doing. And as far as art goes, what I do is I do those props, but I do them much smaller. So I've done, I was a kid in middle school that would like make model tanks and blow them up with firecrackers. That's why I joined the Army, so I got practice that stuff
I can picture you doing
on
that
1-to-1 scale.
as an adult, though. Yeah.
It's not as easy anymore.
It's not as fun. You can't get away with much.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, when can you get firecrackers anymore? And, is somebody watching me take this across the county line? It's like...
Always watching.
Yeah. So, working for county government, I want to stay on the right side.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I was like, okay, I need to, I still like to make small things, that attention to detail. And you would think that it would be tedious, like stressful things. And it's just like, it's not been that way for me. I've made super small things. If you're kind of able to figure out scale, 1 to 300 scale. So a person that is 6 foot tall, maybe like a quarter of an inch tall. And then I recently, my wife found a old Fisher Price dollhouse for sale online. And I was like, she's like, hey, you could do something with this. So I took it home and cleaned it up and painted it. And it's, looks like a Victorian mansion, kind of creepy haunted house feel. But it's all those small things that I do that I'm like, instead of stressing over how do I do this, it's like setting a small goal. I was like, what can I do with this, and what can I use? And using found things. I'm from Texas.
Yeah.
Using found things to make these, details. But it's been a great outlet, and it's really kind of opened up me to do other things within kind of this assemblage art, putting things together that, yes, I go by Chan, but kind of this other name that I use is Earl. I've kind of always been Earl at work, and I'm like, it's a family name. I'm a third generation Earl, but I've never been like Earl. It didn't feel like it was me, but I'm like, what I do is kind of eerie. So I was like, I like eerie Earl. So I make like this kind of small, dark things. It's not the goth. It's not horror. It's just kind of odd, dark, eerie stuff. And I've really enjoyed it. And
If you wouldn't mind, send me a couple pictures. I could post it so people can see
sure
the video. When we release the video, they can see it. And I'll make sure that those videos are in.
Well, I know
or
that
pictures.
I know we're going to talk about an event we have coming up.
Yes, definitely.
And I'm putting I made a piece for our upcoming fundraiser, and I'll send you a picture of that.
Sweet.
People are gonna have to fight me for this piece. I'm already planning to bid on it.
Hey,
It's
I'm
cool.
looking. I'm
Cool.
like, I think I was telling y'all last time. I'm looking for artwork to put in my house. So I just got it, and I need to decorate it. There's nothing there. Nothing.
Awesome.
Fight me.
Did you say bite me?
No, I said fight me. Fight
It's
me.
an arm wrestle.
No, she looks stronger than me.
I'm fighty.
Yeah. So I want to ask about the nonprofit. So how did it start? Where did the idea come from? Artist in Arms. Mm-hmm. Now that's a badass name.
Oh, thanks.
So
my husband and one of my best friends kind of came up with it. I can't remember. There's a bit of debate of who came up with it first, and who was the one who was like, yeah, that's the one. But they both were instrumental in naming the organization. I just I know a good idea when I see it. So
yeah,
I was like, y'all are right. Yeah, thanks. I like the name. So where did it come from? Okay. Well, I worked professionally in theater here in Houston. I worked at Alley Theater for a while, worked with a few smaller theaters here and there as an independent contractor. Really enjoyed doing that. And then, COVID kind of happened, and I saw another career that I thought I would retire from kind of go up in flames around me. And I kind of messed with my head a little bit, and I just didn't really have the heart to go back into it. after things started to kind of settle. And I started thinking about, throughout my career, I was always kind of looking for other veterans in the arts scene, you know, because we just have like a different mentality, right? You know, like we get together, we start talking about boot camp or whatever. And there's just like a different vibe in the veteran community, and then a different vibe in kind of the arts community, right? And I always felt kind of on the outskirts of both of those. You know, as an artist, sometimes you go into veteran spaces and people are like, "Oh, the artsy folksy types," you know, or draw me a tattoo or whatever. You know, how many tattoos have we all drawn for people? But and then you go into art spaces and they're like, "Oh, you're a veteran. Oh, we can't relax around you. We don't know where you are mentally.
We don't want to trigger you.
We don't want to trigger you or whatever."
Or
you know?
the other way. It was like, "Oh, I don't want to be around and they're going to do something that's going to be harmful to me."
Sometimes, yeah. And, you know, I mean, obviously it's not every person, right? But there is this sort of sometimes like you're kind of afraid to relax in either group, because either you're going to say something that's going to like out you as an artist, or you're going to like say something that's going to offend somebody that you just thought was funny, you know?
All the time. All the time.
Yeah, so it can just be a challenge, you know, as much as you love both groups, you just kind of are like, I just want to be able to take a deep breath, right? I want to go watch a Shakespeare play and laugh at the jokes with, you know, my friends who understand what it's like to be deployed, you know, and why that line was funny, or, you know.
You saw a lot of resemblance?
Oh, in Shakespeare? Yeah. So like there's a character in Shakespeare who actually, there's an entire speech about how he has PTSD from battle.
What?
Yeah. A man, like, we have been dealing with this stuff for thousands of years. There's a Greek play, its name I can't remember right now, but it's sort of tied into like the Iliad and the Odyssey. And it's about this character who's injured, right? He gets a foot injury and it won't heal. And so Odysseus and his crew, they decide that this guy's bad luck. So they abandon him on an island. They just boot him out and they leave him and they sail away. But this guy, Philoctetes is his name. That might be the name of the play. Anyway, Philoctetes is left on this island and they only leave him with this like magic bow. And he's like this amazing archer. And then they go throughout this war and they're like getting ready to, might be the Trojan War. Y'all, I'm not a scholar, so I could have some of this messed up.
Oh, you could say it and I'd agree with you. I'd be like, yeah.
Yeah, but somebody's going to be listening to this and be like, that's not fucking true. That's not how it happened. Anyway, so forgive me if I get some of this wrong, but Philoctetes is left there with his magic bow, and he's like blessed by Athena or somebody. Anyway, they find out like 10 years later that they're not going to win this war without him and his magic bow. Well, without the magic bow. So Odysseus and his crew are like, shit, man, we got to go back and get Philoctetes. I bet he's pissed, you know? And so this whole play is about like, they go back to get him and he's pissed. He's been abandoned, right?
We just realized you were gone.
They're like, oh, sorry, bro. And they're trying to like trick him into giving them their bows so they can leave him again because his foot's still
We
messed
really
up.
missed you, but can you go ahead and bring your bow?
Right.
Don't forget your bow.
Sorry, buddy. How you doing? Anyway,
Been practicing.
so this theme of this guy who's injured and left behind by his crew, and he's going through all this stuff about he has this PTSD and he's like really upset and he feels abandoned. And I'm like, I was injured. My foot got hurt and I got kicked out of the Marine Corps because they broke me and I feel left behind and abandoned. And they always say, no man left behind, but I got left behind, right? And like, so there's this play that was written like 2,000 years ago or whatever that I'm connecting with because I have the same injury as this guy, basically, or whatever, the same experience or similar experience, right? Anyway, all of that is going to bring me back around to like throughout history. Like if you look at our oldest cave paintings here in North America, they're scenes of battle, right? They're scenes of hunts. They're scenes of the colonizers coming over and like killing people, and it's It's a way for the people who fought these battles, whether it was hunting or war or skirmishes or whatever, to tell their stories when they come back home to their family, to their friends, and they're leaving this history behind of what happened. And sometimes they're the victors and sometimes they're the losers. But they're connecting and they're telling their stories. And that is our oldest art, right? That is the oldest art in the world. And then you look at again, the Iliad, the Odyssey, it's all about these battles and these relationships between the people who fought and their families, and like what happens when Ajax is killed, and how does that affect, what's his name? The guy who goes crazy because Ajax is killed. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But Tom. You know, Brad Pitt played him, and he was real cute. Anyway.
Oh, no, I don't know.
It's on the tip of my tongue.
No,
so.
it's right there, and I feel real
I
stupid.
know.
I feel really stupid right now. But yeah, and Shakespeare wrote about PTSD and Hotspur, and Hotspur's wife is actually the one giving this speech about Hotspur can't sleep, and he's having these flashbacks, and he needs to like get right with himself, or their family is not going to survive, right? And so many of us are dealing with a lot of these things still today. Like, this is not new stuff. It's just new ways of talking about it. So I was looking for those connections. I was looking for people, for a community of people to share my stories with, to be like, yeah, I was in this combat zone and I have all these feelings about it, and I want to paint a picture, or I want to watch a play and then I want to joke about it. And, you know, I want to, whatever. I just want to connect with people who will get it to some degree, who have a similar life experience, you know? And sometimes I just want to do stuff for fun and not have to worry about, like, am I going to say something that is upsetting to somebody, right? And I wasn't finding it here in Houston. I could find it in LA, I could find it in New York, Chicago, Austin. All these places had some sort of arts programming for veterans, but Houston didn't really have it. We had an organization that kind of started, and then the founder moved, and it just kind of didn't happen. And that's kind of as close as we got. And like, there's art therapy. You can go to the VA, you can do art therapy, right? But there's not just like groups of artists getting together and doing stuff, you know? And I proceeded to complain about that for a while, for probably a good 6 months, before my husband finally looked at me and was like, if you want it so bad, build it.
Yeah.
But stop bitching about it.
Do it or shut up. Huh?
Right, yeah, you know, yeah. And I was like, well, I can't do that. I don't know how to run it. I don't know how to do something like that. I'm an artist. What do I know? You know, I paint, I sculpt, I make things. I don't know how to do that. And he's like, all right, well, I don't know what to tell you. And then I talked to some other friends about it, and they were like, yeah, no, you should start that. You should start that. You should start that. And kind of unanimously, I talked to other veterans, you should start that, right? And so we finally just did it. We just started this group because I got to thinking about it. I was like, well, I'm feeling lonely. And I'm lucky. My spouse is also a Marine. We didn't meet in the military. We were actually friends in high school, weirdly enough. But so I have someone I live with who I can talk to about stuff. You know, if I wake up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat because of a dream about something that happened 20 years ago that really I feel like I should probably be over, but let's be honest, I'm not.
Right.
You know?
There's nothing wrong with that.
Or I get a random Facebook message saying, hey, so-and-so's gone. We lost him. Yeah. He left us, right? And I break down. I haven't talked to this guy in 20 years, but I'm breaking down like my best friend just died, right?
Right.
And my husband gets that. But everybody doesn't have that privilege. Everybody doesn't have that support system kind of built in at home. And I thought, if I'm lonely for other veteran artists, even with my husband in the house, I'm feeling this like lack. There's got to be other people in the same situation. There's got to be other people that need this community of support to like just that get it. And so, yeah, we just started it. And that was in 2021, I think. And we've been sort of slowly growing ever since. We didn't want to get ahead of ourselves. You know, learning how to do all this, finding the funding. It's pretty much self-funded at this point.
Right. Okay.
And
Self-funded meaning out of
my
pocket.
pocket. Yeah, my pocket, my husband's pockets.
Yeah.
So, and some from generous friends and some small programs we've done here and there for fundraising. But we haven't gotten any grants or sponsorships no corporate sponsorships yet. Nothing like that. So we just have been taking it kind of slow so that we don't let people down. We don't want to make these big promises and get ahead of ourselves, and then it all falls apart, right? Mm-hmm. So we've been trying to build the structure so that we have a really solid foundation. And so now we are running a couple different programs. We've got our art car, Sergeant Bubbles, where some of our more mechanically minded veterans can like tinker with this car, and we've got a replica 50 caliber machine gun on top that you can get in the turret of this old Chevy Malibu. And you can ride through the streets of Houston shooting bubbles at people out of this giant machine gun. It's really stupid and fun, and we love her. We usually do the art car parade, but this year we have an event that's going to conflict with that. We've got our second service program that we're getting ready to kick off, where we're going to donate some art supplies to underfunded schools. We can talk a little more about that. That's Operation Game Changer. We do socials, just get together and BS.
Yeah.
We do workshops where we just do art for fun. Last time we made sock puppets. And
family friendly.
Yeah, we generally try to keep most of our stuff family friendly.
That's good.
It may not be like for kids, but I was a single parent for a while, and I know how difficult it can be if you can't bring your kid to stuff. And also, just you want to do stuff with your kids.
Yeah, you
sometimes,
do.
You know, like, and doing art with them, especially something that's really low risk, like making a sock puppet. You can't screw up a sock puppet, y'all. I mean, really, it's hard. You could, but you'd have to try.
Really hard.
Like,
I had some anxiety about coming and doing that one.
Yeah,
and I didn't show. Man,
you should have.
I feel so bad.
It was really fun. I made a unicorn. Yeah. Anyway, so we do those programs. We do what else do we do, Chan? Oh, we go to events, and we just talk about our artists in arms and try to meet new people, and we do some auctions, silent auctions, and I don't know.
Yeah, those events.
There's a lot.
Getting recognized out in the community, the greater Houston area. That's the thing. It's like, how does a nonprofit grow? And when you don't have funds, it goes by word of mouth.
Mm-hmm. Right.
The veteran community, again, Amelia said it great. I mean, we can get around each other and we can tell our war stories. But we get around each other and we're like, hey, don't you do like leather work or woodwork? So, and that's where I was like, artist. I'm afraid of that word. Because I'm like, I make stuff. And I think there's lots of veterans out there, that may have a hobby. It doesn't have to be this highbrow, museum stuff. And yeah, it is not therapy.
Right.
This, Artists in Arms is not a art therapy provider. But I think that those of us that make things hobby wise, it's therapeutic. And when we get around other veterans and we can talk about those things, and like, hey, don't you, whatever it is, make something, some sort of creative outlet, writing, singing, music, any of those things, and it creates that community, that camaraderie, and we become more creative. So we support each other that way, and kind of this social. It's like, here's somebody that gets me.
Yeah.
And they do stuff, and I can say, that's really cool. That's not my skill set. your husband, Josh, he's a woodworking guy.
Yeah.
Welding too, right?
Welding. Yeah. Welding is an art. Have y'all ever seen some of the stuff welders do?
Yeah, one of my good
Man.
buddies does it, and he does some artistic stuff.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
and that's what I'm like. So any moniker of artist, that's when I tell people about, meet other veterans, and try to tell them, it's like, don't be shy, don't shy away from that. It's that you're being creative makes you an artist, creating something that wasn't there before, right? I think that's how you usually say it. It's like,
That is.
you're an artist, the person that writes a poem, a story, the literature, even if it's kind of half fiction, some of us have our stories, and with time, those stories
Grow.
they grow. But it is an outlet, and I will say, I did attend art therapy outside of the VA, and I was like, okay, well, this, it may be helpful. I'm sure it's helping me. It's not developing skills. It's more like, now I want you to use these colors and draw X, and then we're going to talk about it. Well, that's not what we're doing. It's like,
what we
tell
do.
me how that makes you feel.
It's a line.
Yeah. Right.
Makes me feel like I don't want to be here.
Right. So, it's just like more freedom of creativity.
I like to say it's low risk.
Yes. Low risk.
It's low risk. Like, you're not going to come to one of our events and we're going to be like, now, Raul, I want you to make this sock puppet, and I want your sock puppet to act out your feelings about XYZ event, right? We're just going to be like, we're making sock puppets. What do you want to make? And you're going to be like, I want to make a spider. And I'm going to be like, bet, we can do that. I'm going to help you make a sock puppet spider just because it's for fun, right? And the act of creation in itself is therapeutic, even when it's not intended. Because what do they teach us? Ultimately, when we are in boot camp or whatever the rest of y'all call basic training, what are they?
Training.
Basic training. All right. Whenever we're in basic training,
Basic combat training.
what are they?
Fucking Marines.
Honestly, what are they teaching us? They're teaching us to destroy stuff, right? They're tearing us down. They're teaching us to tear other stuff down. They're teaching us to destroy. They're taking kids, whoever, and they're teaching us to become agents of destruction as necessary, right? When we go through TAPS, they don't teach us how to create again, right? They just kind of go, you could drive a truck for, Penske or whatever, and they tap us on the butt and send us out the door.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Which I feel like 75% of
It's
veterans do
214.
that.
Bye.
Yeah. But they don't, they're not teaching us how to create again.
Right.
Right. And so some of us, we really lose something in that, and it's not that it's bad what they're teaching us in boot camp. It's necessary. It's what we're there to be doing, right? It's what we're getting trained for. But the act of creation, it doesn't have to be subjectively good, right? It doesn't have to be good art, I melt crayons on canvases sometimes. I make paintings out of melted crayons. You might look at that and think it looks like trash, and that's okay. It doesn't matter because I'm making something. I'm creating something. I am kind of healing something within myself through the act of creation. And I know this is getting very esoteric or whatever, but
Melting crayons, destroying something in order to create.
in order to create, right? And I'm creating something fun and something beautiful. Yeah, broken crayon, still color. I love it. And I think that's kind of the core of what we're doing is we're embracing that ability to make, to create, to build things again, and we're having fun with it. Another thing we do is the FOGs, which are forward operating galleries. It's been one of our really cool programs that we started. we go into spaces. We did one in U of H Clear Lake. We did one at Artist Gallery up in the Woodlands. We got another one coming up with Spring Street Studios. And we bring in artwork, usually from our veteran community. Sometimes we'll take stuff from family members or really dedicated supporters.
Yeah.
And we hang that art in that space for a certain amount of time. It's just like a forward operating base. It's not intended to be permanent, right? It's a found space. It's a forward operating gallery, and it gives an opportunity for artists who may not have more traditional means of getting their work into a gallery, an opportunity to show their art in the community, and to have their friends and family come and see it, and to see their stuff up on a wall with a light on it, right?
And is that
cool.
Is that available for purchase?
So we don't charge. What we do is a small application fee. It's usually around $10.
No, let's say I'm in the gallery and
Oh,
I
you wanna
see
buy the
something.
art.
You're visiting
Yeah.
the gallery?
I gotcha.
Yes.
Sorry. It depends on the venue. So some venues, they don't want to deal with having to try to manage money and get people in touch with the artists and stuff like that. But we always try to put some way of contacting the artist,
Right,
whether
okay.
it's a website or
Yeah.
QR code or something, so that if someone wants to buy that art, they can get a hold of the artist. But some galleries do, like Artist Gallery, you could sell your stuff there. I sold a piece there.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, I was real happy.
that's awesome.
So that is location specific.
Okay.
I do always ask because I want the artist to have that opportunity,
Right,
because
right.
I'm a big believer that artists should get paid
Of course. Yeah.
for their art, for their skills and for their time. But yeah, it's specific to the location. So
And I've participated in one of the kind of pop-up forward operating galleries. And I mean, it was kind of a very short notice. It's like, and this for me, I was like, hey, I'm going to do this. And then I was like, oh shit, I'm going to be doing this. People are going to look at my stuff and they're going to judge my stuff. And I say judge, that was my perception. And I brought, I think they allowed me, a few pieces, and I brought some variety of things, and it was really eye-opening to me. It changed my perception, that judgy, because the people that'll go, I had some friends that showed up and they had never seen my stuff, and it's great to get support from them, but then to see strangers come look at your stuff and really look at it and get engaged with what you've done, what you created. And it, helps. I don't know. It just, like I said, changed my perception. I was like, okay, so people can come to a gallery and they can look at my stuff and they don't see it like, oh, that is just, my 12-year-old could have done that.
You call this art?
Right, right. I mean, and I was really, really, I did not know. And I know Amelia, I flooded her with questions. I was like, what do I do? What about this? How do I? And she's like, just come, we'll figure it out. And I actually sold a few pieces.
Awesome.
Amazing. Just like, whoa, somebody liked my stuff enough to buy it.
yeah,
You said with money?
Yeah, like, I mean, okay. And
yeah.
even how many times have I asked you, well, how do I price
How do I
this?
price this? Yeah. And
yeah.
guess what I do? Google how to
Google it.
price. Because I don't know either. In fact, that's a workshop that we're gonna work on presenting, is like helping artists, especially non-traditional artists and artisans,
Makers.
figure out how
Artists
to price
and
their
artisans?
stuff. Artists and artisans. So a lot of people hear, like Chan touched on it earlier, a lot of people hear the word artist and they think painting, drawing, maybe sculpting.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay.
That's kind of where it
Museum
goes.
stuff,
The
yeah.
number of times people have said, "Oh, I'm not an artist. I can't even draw a stick figure," and I look at them and I see that they have designed and hand built an entire Elizabethan gown, and I'm like, "Buddy,
Yeah. Okay, I got you.
you are absolutely an artist.
Yeah.
You just don't you're thinking too small. You're thinking
Right.
too small. So one of the things we want to do is actually expand the definition and the acknowledgement of what is art and who is an artist. Because I don't know if you've ever had a really bad cup of coffee
Oh yeah.
Or beer.
We're in the, yeah.
or a really good cup of coffee.
Oh,
Right, roasting coffee beans, that's an art. Because you got to know just the perfect crack and everything, right? There's all these classes you can go take. There's like coffee sommeliers and stuff. A really well brewed beer, that's an art. Baking is an art. Welding is an art. Designing buildings is an art.
Yeah.
You know, like you
Making
tell
a
me
podcast.
Making a podcast is an art. You tell me a career, I could probably find the art in it. Like
Makes
because
sense, yeah.
creativity and artistry is not limited to drawing. You know, that's a big soapbox item I have is getting people to acknowledge, yeah, you are an artist, man. Like you designed a car, like you designed an entire car, right, or whatever. I don't know where I was going originally, but
My wife calls them tangents.
yeah.
Tangents.
Yeah,
my
not a tangent.
Train
but
of
a
thought
tangent.
derails and goes
Yeah.
off this way.
Well, there's a couple questions I want to
yeah.
ask y'all. Okay, so tell me a little bit about the supplies. You said y'all do a thing about school supplies?
Oh yeah, Operation Game Changer.
Yes.
That's our newest program, really near and dear to my heart. I told you I did theater in high school. There's a thing that you do in Texas called one act play. It's kind of like the playoffs for theater, right? It's our big competition. A lot of funding for your drama department can kind of ride on how well you do at one act play. It's UIL. It's all the UIL rules, just like in football and everywhere else, where you have to keep your grades and attendance and all that stuff. The thing about one act play is it's really stringent rules, including the set you can use. And they have this thing called a basic unit set. It's these certain pieces of geometric shapes. And it's like ramps and platforms and pillars and doors. And they have to be very exacting measurements. They all have to be painted medium gray. It's a very specific color. You can only have a certain number of them. And it's very specific, and you have to use that for your competition. You can't have any other set. One of those to purchase starts at around $6,000.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Many of our theater programs are entirely funded by the teacher. And I don't know if you know what teachers make right now, but a lot of them don't have $6,000 laying around,
Right.
that they can afford to buy this set. Sometimes they'll have a budget, but it'll be like $300 for the entire year. And out of that $300, they have to buy the scripts because you have to pay royalties to use a script. They have to buy costumes. They have to buy lighting. They have to pay for food for the kids when they stay after school.
Paint, transportation
Yeah.
to
And
the events.
That's for the entire year. One act play is just one play in the entire season. It's in the spring, and that's it. You're probably doing 6, 7, 8 plays a year if you're a robust theater department. So there are a lot of theater departments out there that are using either busted, old, 20-year-old one-act plays, basic unit sets that are falling apart, or they just don't have them at all.
Right.
And then what happens when you practice on AstroTurf, and then you go to play the playoffs, and now you're on grass, right? It's a whole different field. It's going to screw with the way you play your game. Same thing happens with one-act play. I use a lot of sports analogies.
No, it's good.
For this,
It makes it understandable.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but there's funding there in sports.
Right. And so same with one act play, you're practicing on a bare stage, then you get to competition. Now you have the basic unit set available to use. You've set up your stage that's been hypothetical until this point, and now you're performing. You might get one practice, maybe if you're lucky, if there's time. And now you're performing in competition on a set you've never set foot on, that you're not used to. It puts you at a competitive disadvantage. And who gets the funding? The schools that win, right? So these
The rich get
underfunded-
richer, I think is how
Yeah,
it kinda
these
goes.
underfunded programs remain underfunded because they're, and it's not always. Some people they do fine and they, power through. But it's problematic, right? So this whole Operation Game Changer idea came when I was like, well, what if we built a basic unit set and donated it to a school? Well, buying the lumber, finding the people to construct this thing, buying the paint, that's a lot of money, right? That's a couple $1,000s in itself. So then I was talking to a friend who's an art teacher, and she was talking about how, she couldn't afford to buy watercolors for one of her classes, and she was going to have to go and like put it on her credit card. And I was like, that's BS. The school should be providing basic art supplies. And another friend of mine was like, oh man, that's nothing. He teaches workshops for drawing. He goes into schools. They don't have pencils and paper in their art class.
Wow.
There's nothing.
Imagination.
Yeah. So.
Well, and even I think those of us that have kids that have, kind of gone up through the public schools, and you find it's like, oh yeah, there's a fundraiser. You're allowed to do this fundraiser and this fundraiser. Okay, that's great. And again, it's that the rich get richer. And I don't mean rich, but the schools where there's resources are also the schools where parents of kids have resources.
Right.
And these underserved, it's, doing a fundraiser for buying overpriced X, whatever that X is not going to fly.
If I'm working 3 jobs to pay my rent, I'm not spending $100 on a fundraiser.
Yeah, no, makes
I just
sense.
don't have it. So our idea is that to start a little smaller with Operation Game Changer, we're going to start building these supply packs. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a little survey on our website that we can send out to teachers, and they'll be able to tell us like what supplies they need. They'll be able to apply for the program. And anybody who is approved through the application process, start small, probably just do a few a year, they will receive a supply pack with a certain amount of supplies in it, whatever it is they need. It'll be a monetary value. We'll shop the supplies, we'll pack them up, we'll bring them to school, we'll donate it. And that's the program. And it's really cool. It gives our veterans a second service opportunity, because second service is hugely important. Mm-hmm. A lot of us were service-minded. That's how we ended up in.
Yep.
We wanted to help. We wanted to make changes. We wanted to do something. And then that doesn't change when we retire or get out for other reasons. We're still, a lot of us, looking for those opportunities to serve our community.
Service after service.
Service after service. And so this is our program that we're instituting where we can give back to our community. We can serve the artists of tomorrow's by providing the tools they need today.
I love it.
Right.
Is that an active program right now?
We are, we're about to have a fundraiser, actually. We're trying to raise a few $1,000s so we can kick it off. We'd love to do 10 schools the first year. Yeah. We're thinking about $300 worth of supplies per supply pack, just to get these teachers started, get them their crayons, paper, pencils, whatever they need. That would give us $3,000 would do 10 schools at $300 a piece.
So tell me about the fundraiser.
The fundraiser. You want to tell them, or you want me to
you
keep going?
Get going.
I'm on a roll. All right.
And it's
you fill in when I forget stuff.
Yes, I will.
All right.
I'll punch you in the arm. And
all right. Our upcoming fundraiser, it's going to be on April 7th.
April 7th.
It's called Crawfish and Colors, because, again, we're Marines, and it's crawfish season. And
I think Colors has a dual meaning.
It has.
I went and
dual
dropped
meaning.
off some flyers at a location, and one of the employees there was like, I dropped them off and then just kind of eavesdropped afterwards, and they're like, Colors? What if they're colorblind? I'm like, you sell art supplies here? People that, if they're going to buy art supplies and they're colorblind, it doesn't matter. It's just like, why? But for me, when I saw Crawfish and Colors, crawfish, pretty obvious. Colors. What do we call flags?
Yep.
Yeah.
With friends
Colors.
in the military, it's colors.
Right.
And
That's our dual meaning.
What is our art? It's like a lot of us use colors. So I was like, I think it's cool.
Yeah.
It is. It is.
I try to be
I
clever
said all
with
that
our
just
names.
to say that's cool.
I try to be really clever with our names.
Wait, that's
y'all.
creative,
Thank you for
right?
appreciating it.
It's artistic,
Yeah.
creative at least.
So Crawfish and Colors, April 7th. It is a Sunday. It's from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's intended to be a day that people aren't already super booked with a million things going on, because every kid's birthday party is on Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
So we did a Sunday. The event will be at Senate Avenue Brewery up in Jersey Village area. It's like Beltway 8 and 290.
Yeah.
290 and Senate Avenue.
And Senate Avenue, yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
there's an exit for it. So.
There's an exit for it. It's actually a veteran-owned and operated brewery.
Wow.
Yeah, so the guy who owns it and runs it is a veteran, and I believe his brother is also a veteran. And they have good beer, y'all. If you're not a beer drinker, they also have non-alcoholic options. They have wine and hard seltzers and all those things. But they do actually brew their own beer at the place. It is family friendly. There's a patio. There's food where you have the Crawfish Company, Bayou Boiled Seafood coming in. That's also veteran owned. He's going to be cooking the crawfish fresh for us right at the event. Every ticket will come with 2 drink tickets for our general admission. And I believe a pound of crawfish for the general admission. I can't remember.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, we just changed it, but you know what? It's on the website.
On the website.
You can find out.
What
all
is the
details
website?
there. It's www.artistsinarms.org. That's the easiest way. We're also on Facebook and Instagram, so you can find us there. Artists in Arms.
And links to purchase your tickets.
Links to purchase the tickets are posted all of those places. Yeah. And what else about the event?
Or even donating. You know, I'll say that because of the programs, you know, people I found that do have conflicts. You know, that and if they want to support, they can still go to that same website. They can say, "Hey, I want to put X number of dollars over towards this Operation Game Changer to get some art supplies to kids," and that's where their money will go. I mean, it's that kind of thing. So, yes, we hope to bring in veterans and supporters of veterans to the event. Come hang out, and we're going to have some a silent auction.
Ooh, yeah, we got some good stuff. We got some Crawford box tickets for an Astros game. We've got an annual family pass for 5 for the Houston Interactive Aquarium. We've got some one-of-a-kind art donated by our very generous veteran artists that's going up. There's
Some books. Wasn't there some books?
Yep, some really nice copies of the Iliad and the Odyssey donated by one of our board members. Just a lot of cool stuff.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'll be there definitely.
We're going to have our art car there, Sergeant Bubbles. I just bought some new bubble guns yesterday.
Can I shoot it?
I'll let people shoot it.
Are we trailering it up there? Or we need
I'm going to have to trailer it up there. I'm going to have to rent a
unless
truck.
somebody wants to
donate time
Join
to trailer the Sergeant Bubbles. She needs new tires, so she's got to be trailered.
So if somebody wanted to donate, is there a donation link on the website?
Yeah, it's through the platform GiveButter, so that it's nice and secure.
Okay.
And it's we have our tickets for sale through that. We also do donations through that. We keep it really centered so that we're not, you got to go to PayPal for this and you got to go over here for that. So it's all on GiveButter, and the links to that are on the website and on our socials.
Sweet. So if somebody wanted to reach out to you, what would be the best way they could do that?
Email.
Email?
Yeah, info@artistsinarms.org.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Y'all have any closing remarks you'd like to say?
No.
I got one thing,
Go
and
for
it came from when I was in Desert Storm. They had this any service member mail, and somebody sent me an article from a newspaper, and I cut it out, a very small thing, and it was just a quote. It said, "Freedom for those who fight for it has a special meaning the protected will never know." I still carry that clipped out piece of paper, and that freedom that we all fight for, have fought for. I think it is something that the protected, that makes us something different in our society. So to all the veterans that are out there, you hear it all the time. Thank you for your service. I understand your service means more than just a simple thank you. There's folks out there that don't know the things you went through. Peacetime service is still service. Maintaining freedom. So, just wanted to say that. And thanks so much for having us. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you guys. And any way I can help with sharing anything that y'all got coming up in the future, please let me know.
Got your checkbook?
I do, actually. I'm just
save it for April 7th.
Just bring it. Yeah, we'd really love to see a lot of people show up on April 7th. People talk about, support the troops, support the veterans, and this is an opportunity to do exactly that, to show up and be present. Get to know our artists, spend some time with us, see what we're working on. We're going to have some art on display from some of our artists. We're going to have some art there that you can look at. We're going to have some artists there speaking about kind of their experiences, and what we're doing and what it's meant to them, and how they got into the arts. And we've got one guy who's got a really cool story. And we'd really love to see some faces out there, to see our community come together in person and hang out with us, man. It's a kickback. It's
the anti-gala.
Very cool. It's an anti-gala. You don't have to wear a tux. You wear your stretchiest pants. You can wear a tux if you want to. Look, I'm
gonna show up in a tux. Well, it depends how hot it's gonna be.
It's
Crawfish
April.
bib on your tuxedo.
I'm going to be wearing my stretchiest pants to see how many pounds of crawfish I can eat. But yeah, that's what we want.
I just want a designated driver.
You guys, again, honestly, I really appreciate you guys coming out, and thank you for sharing the information. And like I said, I'll push it out on websites, and we'll get it all going. As always, we appreciate you tuning in. Be sure to like, share, subscribe. Hey, remember that if you ever need any help, please reach out 988. Press 1 if you're a veteran, and you can also text it, and they will respond if you're in a crisis or you just need someone to talk to. As always, I'm here as well, and reach out to your brothers and sisters. They'll pick up the phone. As always, thank you again for tuning in. And Charlie, Mike,